Hi there, Adam here from the product marketing team. This video here provides some great tips, tricks, and tools to help anyone who supervises either individuals or teams that are handling customer interactions. And it looks at how to continue doing that productively in a remote environment. You might be new to working from home. Perhaps you're accustomed to working in an office environment, having your team there, having them in the same office or building. Now you're working from home and that work dynamic has changed. Well, the only thing you can't do anymore is throw paper airplanes at Andrew. Other than that, and here's the good news, you can actually be more productive than ever. And in this video, we're going to talk about some tools that can help you not only work collaboratively, but train, coach, and supervise teams effortlessly, all remote, regardless of where they are or where you are in relation to them. Don't believe us? Stay tuned. And to help us with that, we've got our Senior Manager of Contact Center Sales, Andrew Boone. So let's jump into a day in the life of the remote managing experience in the contact center.
Great idea. So the big thing I think about, listen, anybody can get a call to an agent unless you're a Cisco or Avaya that's working remotely, right? Getting the calls there, having them live, physically present to take calls, that's just, in my opinion, half the battle. The big problem that I think people are just waking up to right now is, how do I manage my agents when I'm in my basement and you're in your basement, right? And thank you for referencing the agent video we just did. And this tool that we've created gives a ton of what I like to call Big Brother, right? The oversight. Whether you're sitting in the same office or in just different countries, it doesn't matter. The system gives you visibility into the day of your agent's life from a management perspective. So if I'm a supervisor, first thing I do when I come into the office is I probably log into my Salesforce account. I probably check some dashboards. I insert your CRM here. I use Salesforce, of course, but then I'm going to log into my admin portal. And now I have an admin portal that I'm going to log into here to show you guys and put in the right account ID. But the one thing about our admin portals, and you probably see this already, Adam, it's web-based. So everything that you do inside the portal is going to be defined by the profile that's been assigned to you. I'm logging in here as a sysadmin because I want to show you guys all of the cool features, and that's usually what your managers and supervisors might be. But even an agent logging into this portal is going to have some basic functionality that they can do. But this doesn't need a VPN. This doesn't need special credentials, right? Any browser, as long as your username, password, match what we have in the system. So as a manager, and this is just my landing page, Adam, I know people get freaked out. I make mine really busy. These are all things I like to interact with, but essentially you get to create a little favorite section from all of the options here as a manager. And so these are the things you're going to, most frequently, accessed, if you will. I personally, the very first thing I open up every morning when I come in is and I always use a new tab, is the wall boards and the dashboard. So I'm going to do that now, specifically the monitor page. But I also might go into a managed callback section as well, which I hadn't extended just now, callbacks and suspended emails, because I want to see if there was any, activity from last night that perhaps is left over, calls in queue, perhaps emails and voicemails that are left over. So I'll do a little bit of that checking. But the big chunk of it is going to be.
Sorry, Andrew. It's worth noting what Andrew was doing there. Those, not only can you add tiles to that page, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, you can also drag and reorder them. And Andrew's put his most frequent ones at the top, but you can, see, he's doing it right now on the fly. You can reorder things as much as you like. There it is, right?
There you go. I did this the other day. I did. I promise. Someone came in and changed it, but no, it's true. The problem is it could get pretty busy, right? Unless you know.
Sure, of course.
Doing.
But you have that control. If you want it busy as you do, that's cool. If you want to slim it down, keep it focused, you can do that too. It's up to you.
Absolutely. We don't need the Twilio. We don't need rules-based routing. We don't need Passage AI today. We definitely need the working hours. We probably don't need the global settings. There we go. But excellent point, Adam. And obviously, what's important to you in your day is probably similar to what most managers. And, other than logging into the system, I really want to know which of my agents are logged in and who's working. So inside the application, there is a monitor link, a monitor tab. There's also two dashboards, and this is the monitor tab I've opened. I've collapsed a few of the columns, but number one, who's logged in, right? And what time did they log in? This is a great example, and I don't mean to pick on poor Beth today, but this looks to me like a mistake was made. It looks like Beth has been logged in now for Is that 13 days? Am I calculating that correct? Yes, 13 days, and has missed 29 calls. And this is an interesting, again, the system manages everything. And if I notice something like that was happening, I could just log Beth out, right? Maybe I won't do that because there's a reason for this, or maybe I can send Beth a one-way message from the administrator. You haven't logged out in 13 days. So the ability for me as a supervisor to see in real time what my agents are doing, the phone number they logged in from, right? Their current status, the duration, but I also see all of their stats since they've logged in. Now, once Beth logs out and logs in, this will reset to 0. It usually is a daily thing, but obviously you can see that, someone could say logged in. And then the other thing, you and I were just talking about this, Adam. Gary here, again, poor Gary picking on him in support, but his condition is red. Why is his condition red? Well, we've set a threshold for this condition, the dial out condition, that if it exceeds a certain number of minutes, turn the condition red. So I know as a manager that Gary's been on this outbound call too long by my standards. And to make it even more comfortable, in Gary's CCA that he's using it's also turned red. So this little threshold works both ways. And here's my favorite part, Adam. Obviously, you're going to have agents working remotely. Some of them are going to be on our phones. Some of them are going to be on other people's phones. Some of them are going to be on a combination of phones. And,
Right.
we're talking about the agent at home. And no matter what device you, the agent, the customer are using to connect and make these calls, we can still live monitor, meaning we can silently listen to callers, whisper in the agent's ear, or even barge in and remove someone from the call, no matter what 4 or 5 or 3 different phone systems a customer might use, right? So the example I like to use is, I'm in Newfoundland on my cell phone calling in as a customer. You've got a manager at home on their AT&T landline, and you've got a customer calling from Alaska on their Verizon cell phone. I can still live monitor, whisper, and barge in, which I think is incredibly cool. So beyond confirming my agents, right? Who's logged in, maybe who's not logged in, and ensuring everybody's busy. The second thing I'm going to be looking at are my queues. We do 3 things here. We do cumulative stats and real-time stats. So the first 3 columns just kind of give me, since midnight last night, how many calls have I received or queued and answered, right? What's my answer rate? What is my minimum and maximum and average wait time? These are really telling. If there's a lot of abandoned calls, but people are only on hold average 10 seconds. I mean, you use this data to kind of sanitize what you're looking at. We break down the IVRs for you if there's multiple. We break down the queues that you have if they're multiple, so that you can then, in a more granular fashion, identify which queues or skills are maybe lacking. And then in real time, we're able to actually give you the ability to see when calls are in queue, interact with them, move them around, even interact with the agents that are in the queue. So, Adam and Paul are currently manning the chat queue. If I knew this was going to be a tough day, Adam, right? Like, we're all having tough days, but if I knew that maybe I'm supposed to have 6 people in the chat queue, but 4 of my agents have called in sick, well, I can temporarily and move agents into these queues just from this add agents to queue list. So from a remote manager, right? Not only can I move calls around, I can move agents around, I can move skills around, and I do this all from the comfort of my, couch or living room, right? There's no special skills or tools required other than this access to make that management stuff happen.
And I'm guessing when you move those agents on a temporary basis, Andrew, you don't necessarily have to remember to come back and remove them later. At some point, they're going to be removed from that queue and default to the skill sets they had before. Am I right, or correct me if I'm wrong?
You are right. And this is in these weird times, right? There's a lot of that going on, and I can't tell you how important of a feature that is, because people will move agents in and out of school skills and queues all the time. But if you don't remember what you've done and undo it, it could really mess up your skill-based routing schema in normal time. So yeah, anything that you do in the monitor page is temporary. And essentially, at the end of the day, when the agent logs out of their CCA, it's going to default to their normal skills and normal queues, those sorts of things. I'd also mention that, at a queuing level, the IVR is intelligent, right? And, intelligent enough that we can allow it to make its own decisions based on predetermined criteria. So you won't often have to go in here and click on a calling queue and move it around. The IVR will do that for you, but it's comforting to know, right, that I'm a manager. I can click on the tech support queue. I can see that it's, Bob, the CEO from our top, customer in there, and I can assign him a higher priority and get it dealt with right away. And that's the kind of management tool I think people are looking for. Not to beat a dead horse, obviously, this is really where I spend a lot of time, managing, but there are some wall boards that we give as well. And, this is typically for your, call center environment, right, Adam? Like, you got 20 people in a room, you put this at the front of the call center, everybody's kind of transparently involved and sees what's going on. That doesn't really translate as well when you're working from home, right? But if you wanted to, because there's no license requirement for these wallboards and dashboards, if you wanted, you could let every single one of your remote agents have a version or both versions of this running on their desktop as well. It's just a web page, so that data, that transparency, that information that you would want them to see in front of a wallboard inside a call center is still available to them. So another little pro tip in terms of the access to these wallboards and dashboards: don't consume or require any kind of special licensing. They're included. You give the agent permission, they can run these. And I mean, I can't tell you the value of knowing that, hey, there's a 25-second wait time right now in our X queue. Maybe I should come off of break and get back into the queue and take some calls quickly, right? That transparency empowers and drives good behavior, right? It most people want to do the right thing. So I think that's a real big boon.
That's, so to speak, that's a great insight. The other thing I like about that is, hey, obviously it's important to all be on the same page and all of our fingers on the same pulse. But what I love about that, Andrew, is it seems to me it encourages a focus not only on your own responsibilities and accountabilities, but on overall team performance. Like, as a team, how are we doing? And really focusing on that collective experience that we're providing, not just my own stuff. I really like that concept.
You've hit, and I think we're leaning more towards this cohesiveness now, right? I mean, catastrophe has kind of driven us that way a little bit, where we're all a little bit more understanding. We're all a little bit less frustrated with people who are maybe not as comfortable working from home. And I think just, we've kind of embraced the world. There's a ton more, I'm going to say, features, functions that we give you that really lend to remote working, and I'm still on the Big Brother sort of talk track. But one of the big things, and you just kind of reminded me of it, Adam, because you can't always be in front of your monitor page, right? And waiting to see if Paul is on a call too long and take action. So the system we built actually has some pretty solid, I'm going to say rudimentary, but they're email alerts that we also can configure. So if you're out walking around, or you need to stretch your legs, and you need to take the dog for a walk, and you don't want to take the monitor page with you on your tablet, which I highly recommend, you can set email alerts on every queue, and basically give you 3 levels of alert, Adam, 1, 2, and 3. And there's only 5 alert types: an unattended queue, a high wait time, a heavy workload, a low service level, or too many agents available. And each one of these alerts, and you can obviously have levels of escalation, you essentially decide how often you want to check for it. So I like to check for it every minute, right? Because who doesn't want to be on top of things? So every minute I'm going to check for it. If there's more than, 25 agents logged into the queue and that remain available for more than, 15 seconds, then I want an email sent to all of these people. And the comment I want said is, what I want to have say, send all of these agents. You can't say send agents home anymore because they're already at home. So we need to log these people off. But you also get to choose your alerting period. So if you're running 24/7 and you only want these alerts running after hours, you can do that, or you can have them running 24/7. So it's a really, really detailed alerting system. And of course, everybody's email on their phone. It's going to come to you on your phone. It's going to show up as an alert. And then you're obviously going to be asked to take action from there. So when it comes to managing those agents remotely, I think you've got a great 2 tools, right? The real-time monitors, the dashboards, and then that alerting system to keep everybody honest and on track. And we didn't talk about this on the agent view, Adam, but the ability to customize your status, right? So you can provide custom statuses for your agents. And that status, if I'm logged in here, will display on the CCA. So right now I'm going to change my status to juggling swords. When we go to my monitor page and look at this agent, it's going to show that he is in the juggling sword status. So you can use these custom statuses to inform not just you as from an agent to a manager, but it informs everybody what you're doing. And then we build reports around those custom statuses. So it's a really powerful tool where you're able to now actually create custom statuses for whatever you want your agents to use. And why this wasn't as important when you were all sitting in the same room, you just go on break and say, hey, I'm just taking a 15-minute smoke break.
Right.
Okay, no problem, Bob. See you in 15. Now, who are you going to tell? So you put your status, smoke break, if that's a real thing, obviously not really. And then everybody who can see the monitor page sees that you're busy as an agent and that you're on the smoke break. And of course, as a manager, I can now even remotely manage that condition and report on it, which I think is a tremendously valuable tool from a remote management perspective. Tools that we need to continue to use, whether we're remotely managing or not. Reports is one, and I'll talk about reports in a sec, but we have an entire recording section that are available to managers, supervisors, whoever you want to give permission to. And the recording section is really where we pull down voice recordings. Of course, there's chat, email recordings as well. But in the voice recording section, there's actually a couple of features. And for me, remote management is almost a complete, it's a complete loss without this. So I'm in our recording section. Of course, I have permission because I'm logged in as a sysadmin. I can search for calls by name, by number. I can search for calls by agent. I can filter by team. I can search calls for notes. I can, search based on the classification data. You can search, you can slice and dice this search criteria any which way you want. When you get your search results, you get three main options. And this is remote managing at its finest, I think. So first of all, I think this was the call we did earlier, Adam. So, I see some information about the call, right? We like some information, notes are cool. Mm-hmm. And, if I wanted to listen to this call, I just click listen. Now, my account particularly has a streaming media player attached to it. There is the ability to download this file as an MP3 if you want, but streaming protects privacy and data from being downloaded and shared, right? So we typically recommend the streaming. So I'm now listening to myself. Actually, Adam, you're in there too, which is cool. And of course, I just muted it because that's a little bit annoying. So I can listen. I can also watch. And this is a proceed with caution type piece of a feature, if you will, because it's actually going to record the agent's screen activity. And I'm just going to hit pause for a second. Not just one screen, but up to 10 screens that the agent was connected to while they were that's funny, while they were on the screen. So you're now able to watch what I was doing while I was on that call, and it's not limited by one or two screens. I've seen it connect to up to 10 screens simultaneously. So the idea here is, and I'm hoping you never have to use this on a regular basis, but if you want to have some level of auditing over what your agents are doing, if you want to make sure your agent's not watching Netflix while they're supposed to be taking calls, the watch product, the watch service will really bring that truth to you, right? So it's going to take a complete screen recording and it continues the recording until the agent wraps up the call. So if there's a long extended wrap-up time, we're going to continue recording. And it really helps unpack bad behavior. But most importantly, you put that video on day one, you show all of your agents you have this new power, and everybody just automatically snaps into it, right? Everybody's on their best behavior moving forward. And then the last thing, and I guess, Adam, this is probably the coup de grace, right? I mean, if you've got a remote agent, what are you doing with them? You're listening to calls, you're listening to recordings, you're watching screen recordings, but how are you using this newfound information to improve outcomes, right? And for us, it's evaluations. And this works, in my opinion, even better when you have remote agents, because what happened in the old school days, Adam, I don't know if you had to do this, but whenever I would do an evaluation for a customer, I would have to, not for a customer, but for an agent, I'd have to pull that agent off the phone, bring them into the glass room. Sometimes we would have to bring their union rep with them as well. And then we would have to give them the critical feedback that I collected on the evaluation, right? And, our tool does that for you, where, you can see here, I've started my little media player. I'm listening to the call. I'm muted here for now. I can go through and score this agent on whatever scoring criteria is important to you, right? Did I use the appropriate greeting? Did I use a closing wrap-up statement? Did I influx my appropriate rebuttals, or whatever it is that it's important to you? You build it to spec. But the big feature here that I think enables this to work remotely is the ability for you as a manager or whoever your QA person is to annotate the file. So I can give the agent feedback, and this agent in particular is going to be Adam, but I can give Adam feedback in line with as I'm listening to the call. So I can say, awesome save on that difficult question. And that's not going to mean anything to anybody but Adam, but I'm going to add that annotation. right? And then I'm going to give Adam more feedback. I think at the one and sit, I'm going to say, great job. Or maybe, maybe we want to use these these files for more advancement of agents. So I can say, you were just okay. But at the end of the day, once all of these annotations have been added and I've scored Adam as an agent, I now have the ability to send this file, or Adam in this case will actually get this file in his inbox, and he's going to come in, he's going to see the score that you set for him, and obviously have an idea of the report card. But most importantly, he's going to be able to click where I wrote awesome save on that difficult question. He's going to hear what I heard to come up with that. And I find this a really powerful way of closing the feedback loop, right? You've got remote agents. How are you going to give them feedback? There's no more glass rooms, although there may be soon, but we're just going to be on different sides of the glass. But this way I can electronically give Adam the feedback. He can electronically see where we are. And then to take it a step further, Adam can accept it, acknowledge it. There's even a collaboration tool where Adam can come back with feedback for me based on the feedback I gave him. And I think it's just a great way to enable that remote workforce and still continue with your quality assurance and quality improvement. I'm going to show you guys, last but not least, reports, because seeing everything in real time is one thing, but actually having the reporting functionality, the historical data in the back end to prove all of that to you and leverage it and use that to, manage your business, et cetera, is really kind of critical. So we have thousands of reports available to you guys in the library. And, a lot of them are really about unpacking and demystifying the activity that happens in the IVRs and with the agents. So we get really detailed. It's true cradle to grave reporting from the dialed number all the way to the outcome of the call. And we have the ability to obviously slice and dice queue and agent data by 30, 60, 90-minute intervals in daily, weekly, monthly scenarios. We even get to the point where if we need to, we'll build you a custom report, right, based on whatever requirements you're looking for. Most of the folks that I look at and talk to are really keen about the agent activity reports. So I'm just going to run a real quick one here. But the idea is, it's one thing to see daily snapshots of your agent's activity, but what if you could see it on a weekly basis? And not only that, but compare their activity with all the other agents, right? And so I find this really powerful because, again, a daily snapshot gives you so much. A weekly snapshot really opens up and gives you what your agents are absolutely doing. I'm going to click on this one I ran earlier. And this is just a demo account, so bear with me here for a sec, but this agent took 7 calls that week. No outbound calls, clearly no chats or emails. I didn't include those in this report. No missed calls. But then I have all their time available. How much time are you available? Why were you available so much, right? Or, how much time did you spend on wrap up or break or any one of those other custom statuses, right? When did you first start and end your shift on that 24-hour clock? How often did you have to put customers on hold? So, obviously unpacking all of this from a remote management perspective is critical. And this is something that I used to do as well. And again, you guys don't have to follow suit, but we have the ability to schedule reports. And I used to manage a remote workforce, Adam, a remote contact center. We probably should have mentioned that earlier. But I would actually schedule my agent reports to be sent out to all agents daily. So, because they worked remotely. So every agent would get the full summary of all agents, be emailed to the daily. They looked at it or didn't, but they were able to then see how they performed against their peers. And it's not true gamification or anything like that, but it was a major, major driver and motivation for some of those agents to improve their outcomes because they wanted to be better than the best agent. If Frank was number one, he was everybody wanted to be as good as Frank. And I think that sharing of data and reports, right, sometimes helps drive that, especially when you're working remote. We've got to motivate ourselves some way.
No, right there with you, Andrew. And listen, much appreciated on the walkthrough. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you to everyone for watching. Hopefully you've seen today how you can use Intermedia Contact Center to holistically manage a remote agent workforce, right? How you stay connected, you see what's going on, manage your people, and ultimately deliver that outstanding customer experience. Hopefully you've also seen that not only is there no reason to fear going remote, but you may actually be able to drive superior outcomes by doing so. So again, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.